Welcome to the Virginia Civics and Economics Lecture Series. At the end of each slide, there will be a 5-second delay. Use this time to complete your notes. When you are done, push play and move on to the next slide. This presentation will begin in 5 seconds. Welcome to Virginia Civics and Economics Lecture 1.8C on federalism, and it's time to talk about these guys again, the drafters of the Articles of Confederation. Go Yorktown, Pennsylvania! Why are we still talking about these guys? Didn't they, fail or something? Well, they did fail, but the question is why, and what did we do to recover? You see, back in the beginning, we were 13 colonies. 13 independent states, all of which wanted to control the federal government. We called that a confederation, and you know that it didn't work. So we created something new, and it looks just like this. 50 states under one federal banner. Well, how did we create this? And how does this work together? I mean, how can I have the United States of America as one of my governments and the Commonwealth of Virginia as another one? Well, to do this, we have to understand a concept called federalism, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So with that said, let's go to the next slide. You already learned that our founding fathers faced the problem of how to create a strong yet limited national government. Well, to do this, they relied on a concept called federalism. The Constitution of the United States of America establishes a federal form of government in which the national government is supreme to the state governments. We see this in Article 6. It's called the Supremacy Clause. Supremacy states that the Constitution is the supreme or highest law of the land. So, you might have a state law on the books, but if there is a federal law covering the same issue, the federal law applies. Federal law will always go before state law. That covers the powerful part. Now we need to cover the limited part. The Constitution and its amendments also limit the powers of both the national and state governments, and here's how. The power of the federal government is specifically set forth in the Constitution and subsequent amendments and cannot be expanded. The Constitution is what we call a limiting document. In other words, it is not speed limit infinity for the federal government. The Constitution is the speed limit, and the federal government can go no faster than what is in that document. Also, the states are limited by the selective incorporation doctrine, where the Supreme Court has bound the states to certain constitutional requirements via the 14th Amendment. Like the federal government, the states must follow the amendments in the Bill of Rights. But remember, not all amendments apply to the states. Go to the next slide. The Constitution is so cool, not only because it creates a new form of government, but because it gives us a glimpse into our past. And as you're going to see, our past is going to lead to tension within federalism. The Constitution is a document of compromise. Federalists, like Alexander Hamilton here, wanted a powerful federal government. The federal government was in control, and the states had little to no power. On the other hand, anti-federalists like Thomas Jefferson wanted a weak federal government. The states had almost all the power, and the federal government had limited power. You see compromise all over the Constitution, and one of those big compromises is seen in the 10th Amendment, which sets forth that the specific powers not given to the national government are reserved to the states. So if the federal government isn't parking in that parking space, the states can park there and do whatever they want. Here's where the tension exists. Tension exists when federal mandates require state actions without adequate funding. What does that mean? Medicaid and other social welfare programs, they're run by the state governments, but the federal government says you have to run that program. And a lot of times the federal government doesn't pay for it. Just as Jesse the Buddy Ventura, he was once governor of Minnesota, and he explained that if the government mandates anything with a price tag on it, then it ought to fund the project. That doesn't happen sometimes, and when that doesn't happen, we get tension within federalism. Go to the next slide. So now let's put this all together and see how federalism works with our three levels of government in this country. The national government, the most powerful yet limited government in the country, conducts foreign policy, regulates commerce, and provides for the common defense. All of these things must be done on a national level. The state, including cities and counties in the state, promote the public health, safety, education, and welfare of its citizens. These things are best done by state and local government. Let's break this down further. These things are exclusive to the federal government. They print money, they declare war, they establish an army and navy, they enter into treaties, they regulate commerce, they establish the post office, and they make the laws to enforce the Constitution. These things are exclusive to state governments. They establish local governments. They issue licenses. They regulate in-state commerce. They conduct elections. They ratify amendments. They protect the public health and safety. And by using the Reserve Powers Clause, that 10th Amendment clause, they do whatever they can get done and they put it in their state constitutions. That's not the end of the story. Some things are shared by the federal and state governments, like establishing courts, creating and collecting taxes, building highways, borrowing money, making and enforcing laws, chartering banks and corporations, spending money to better the general welfare, and helping with transportation. And then even in the states, there are some things that are provided by the local government, cities, counties, and towns. They include education, police and fire, human services, public works, urban planning and zoning, economic development, and parks and recreation. This is how we take all of the things we ask our government to do and break them down between the federal, state, and local governments using the concept of federalism. That's it for this lecture, and I look forward to seeing you in class.